Hello everyone, my name is Creepercraft Guy. Literally, I don't know how long ago, 4 minutes ago, that's 4 minutes ago, it became 2018. Happy New Year everyone. You may not realise this, but right where I am, it just turned New Year's Eve. Considering we're in different time zones around the world, I'm from England, obviously. So it just turned New Year's Eve in England. This is awkward. But I didn't make a Christmas video, I didn't make a birthday video, but I'm going to make a New Year's Eve video. This New Year's Eve video is going to be me discussing my top 10 favourite Pokemon. I don't know if I really need to explain what this list is about. We all know what top 10s are. My top 10 favourite Pokemon. You probably know what number 1 is if you've been around on my channel for a long time. If you haven't though, then be prepared. Before we actually get into the list though, I'm going to list off 5 honourable mentions. Almost put up 4 fingers there. 5 honourable mentions. And we're going to get started now. So honourable mention number 1, Serperior. Before Gen 6 was a thing, Gen 6 was the region where I thought had the best Pokemon. And before that, my favourite Pokemon was Serperior, who was a Gen 5 Pokemon, and Gen 5 was the first region I played, but in that region I actually chose Tepig as my first Pokemon. But I really, really like Serperior, and before Decidueye, Serperior was my favourite grass starter and grass type. Honourable mention number 2, Lycanroc. I wish Lycanroc was better competitively, because it seems like a Pokemon that would do really, really well. It's one of the very, very few Pokemon in Alola that are really fast, but, well, not really fast, but speedy compared to others. I particularly like Dusk form, that's my favourite one of the 3 forms. Moving on though, honourable mention number 3 is Snorlax. Now the reason Snorlax didn't make it onto the list is because I love it to death, it's a really bulky Pokemon. But the reason I didn't put it on this is because I rarely ever use it anymore. Unless, like, it's an event or something, or it's, like, a key part of the story, I don't use Snorlax. I used it in Sun and Moon, but that was the last time I ever remember using a Snorlax. And the last 2 honourable mentions are Metagross and Dragonite, and I love them both for the same reason, the fact they are really, really powerful, and are both pseudo-legendary. If I had to say which one I liked better, probably Metagross, but Dragonite's also cool. I think Metagross only really takes the cake because it's a pseudo-legendary, and it has a Mega Evolution. I mean, Dragonite's a pseudo... What am I talking about? It's got a Mega Evolution is what I meant to say. But yeah, those are my 5 honourable mentions, and now we get into the list with my number 10 spot, and number 10 is Lucario. I didn't used to like this Pokemon, but after resetting and playing through Pokemon X and Y many, many times, I've reset it so many times and played through it again and again, it's grown on me massively. I mean, the attacks it can dish out, like Aura Sphere, like the Kamehameha, and the, my favourite, the Power-Up Punch. It had, like, Power-Up Punch and I didn't get rid of it because I thought it was a really good move. They're effective against a lot of things. Fighting's a good type. Also, its Mega Evolution is one of my favourites. The number 9 spot goes to another Pokemon I first encountered in Kalos, and that Pokemon is Talonflame. Talonflame is not only my favourite flying type, but he's my favourite Pokemon in my favourite Pokemon type. My favourite Pokemon type is flying, which is quite odd, but I really like bird Pokemon and like flying type Pokemon. And Talonflame is my favourite of all of those. The reason I like it, though, is because it's useful in and outside of battle. It's quite powerful. It can learn strong moves like Flame Charge and Brave Bird. It's got Fly as well to help me get around the region, although it was, like... I'll get to that in a minute, actually. And its Flame Body ability can hatch eggs quickly. Now, the one thing that, like, put Talonflame this on the list is because I love it so much, but the problem is, I got really sad when I found out how useless it was in, Sun and Moon, because the only thing it's really good for is Flame Body, which can be used to hatch eggs, because now, Fly doesn't do anything, because we already have the Charizard ride for that, and Gale Wings, this other ability, got a massive debuff for some reason. I was really sad to hear that, though, because I really like Talonflame, and seeing it get debuffed was one of the saddest things. Number 8 is the only legendary Pokemon in this if you don't count my number 6 spot, because I don't. I know that my number 6 spot, when we get to it, is listed as a legendary Pokemon, but I really don't think it is one. And I don't use legendary Pokemon often. But when I do, my prime choice and my number 8 spot is Mewtwo. Now, the thing is though, it was really hard because when Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out, Ultra Necrozma stole my heart. Like, I mean, Ultra Necrozma was, like, a Pokemon that I love so much more than even things like Mega Rayquaza or something. But in the end of it all, I think Mewtwo still takes the cake. Like, it's just still a good Pokemon. It's basically what I view as a Psychic-type Lucario that can dominate the competition, and it has 2 Mega Evolutions. Now, you'd be surprised to know that of both the Mega Evolutions, my favourite is probably Mega Mewtwo X, which is unusual because a lot of people prefer Y. But the thing is, I think Mega Mewtwo X is a good choice because Psychic Fighting is quite a good type. I really like things like Medicham and Gallade. They don't make this list, obviously, but like, but yeah, I still like them. I think Gallade is really cool. I really enjoyed battling against Wallies. Number 7 is actually what we talked about in the honourable mentions when we were discussing Superior. My number 7 spot goes to Decidueye. I was really expecting it to get higher on the list, but turns out I actually like a lot of Pokemon a lot better. My favourite grass starter, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Decidueye is not the strongest. Like, I've heard lots of rumours that in Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, it's just a really bad Pokemon. And that kind of hurt me a little inside, because I really like Decidueye. And it, despite it not being the strongest Pokemon alive, I still adore it. And to be fair, I also adore its signature move. And it's my main Z-move user. Sinister Arrow Raid is possibly my favourite Z-move. But there are also with the ones that were introduced in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, like Lycanroc Z-move, kind of overshadow it, I don't know. But Decidueye still gets on this list above Lycanroc because I actually don't know why. I don't know why. Because, like, I think I might have made this before Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out and Dusk Lycanroc wasn't announced then. Moving on. Now, the number 6 one was what took me by surprise. While I was making this list, I didn't realise how much I liked this Pokemon until I took, like, an online test. This Pokemon is what I like to call Arceus Jr. And this Pokemon is what I was discussing with Mewtwo, like being called a legendary. This Pokemon is Silvally. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a big fan of Arceus. Like, I think Arceus is cool, don't get me wrong, but to be fair, I never, ever, ever used Arceus's, like, type swapping ability. I thought that would be pretty useful, but I only ever got the chance to use the type swapping ability when I got Silvally, and when I did I was really excited, because Silvally is a really good Pokemon. I have a Silvally in Pokemon Ultra Moon right now, Ultra Moon, which I named Sucra, which is Arceus backwards. There's also the fact that he's the partner Pokemon of my favourite Pokemon rival, Gladion, or Gladion, how do you pronounce it, I don't care. The only problem I have with it is that, like I've discussed, I don't use like the type changing thing, and part of the reason for that is it's hard to decide on what type to make it. But normally when I enter battles, I do it with something that can counter the weakness of the rest of my team. And Silvally, to be perfectly honest, wish it was better in competitive wise, because unfortunately it's not that good. But still, I love it. And to be fair, even though I was surprised it made this list, I do love Silvally and I think it's a really good Pokemon. But number 5 is a Pokemon that I have loved for a very, very long time now, and it's quite possibly the oldest Pokemon on this list. For some reason, actually, if I go back, no, never mind, Mewtwo is, but, like, it's one of the very, very first Pokemon I ever encountered while I was playing the games. This Pokemon being a Pikachu clone, and obviously, as I said earlier, my very first game was Gen 5. You know what it is? It's Emolga. Now, I know, it's a Pikachu clone, I already said that. Emolga is one of the very first Pokemon I ever had, like, a proper affection for, though. Like, when Gen 5 was out, I was like, marvelling over, like, the different Pokemon designs. But when I first saw Emolga, it was in the anime. And I know that a lot of people hate the black and white anime, and to be fair, I don't like it myself, but it was the first anime I watched. It was what got me into the games. I saw Iris's Emolga in the show, and I loved it. I think Electric Flying is one of my favourite Pokemon types. And, like, other than things like Electros and Vikavolt, the rest, like, Electric Flying types are legendaries. And it's one of the very first, like I said, one of the very first Pokemon I have an affection for. Quite possibly the oldest Pokemon on this list now, like, sharing like Gen 1 Mewtwo. My number 4 spot goes to Charizard. Now, it gained my liking thanks to its Mega Evolution. Yeah, well today Mega Charizard X is my favourite. When I first played Pokemon Gen 6, my first game was Y, and I had Mega Charizard Y. And I think Mega Charizard Y is also very good. Sorry, I got a bit of a cough. And it's great regardless whether it Mega Evolves or not. It's got a great moveset. But number 3 is where we start to get to, like, my Pokemon I actually love. And now, you might think me of this choice, and I'm going to disclaim this, my next choice is a bit girly. But to be fair, this Pokemon can be found equally as a male or a female. You know what it is? This is the only evolution that gets this list, and my favourite evolution is Sylveon. My favourite evolution, and no, I am not girly. It's one of the most tanky Pokemon ever to start. I mean, it doesn't look it, but Sylveon is really defensive, and it's got awesome special attacks, which makes it a powerhouse, and a literal Dragon Slayer. Like, Sylveon is just such a graceful looking Pokemon, and I love it so much. But what I was expecting though is I was expecting Sylveon to get number 2. And while I do love the number 2 spot to death, I really wasn't expecting it to get number 2. I thought like Sylveon and the number 2 spot were going to swap around. Speaking of my number 2 spot, that Pokemon happens to be Mimikyu. What isn't there to love about this Pokemon? Seriously. Like, I get that it's creepy, but it makes it cooler in my opinion. I like creepy Pokemon, they're awesome. Its ability is incredible too. Like, who doesn't want an instant substitute at the start of every battle? Man, this Pokemon is just one big rhetorical question. Like, I understand, like, its concept is good, but I don't really pay attention to Mimikyu because of its concept. What I do actually, though, is have something to nitpick at the concept, because Mimikyu wants to be as popular and as great as Pikachu, but in hindsight, it's better than Pikachu. I don't like Pikachu. I'm going to come out and say that now. I understand why a lot of people like it, because it is the mascot of the games and everything, but that's literally the only thing I think it has to offer to the games, like, to be a good Pokemon mascot. But Pikachu is a Pokemon I just really don't like. Like, I use it, don't get me wrong, but I really don't like it. I very much prefer both Alolan and Cantonian Raichu. But now we can move on to the number 1 spot on this list. What a surprise if you have been on my channel for a really, really long time now. This Pokemon, I remember seeing a survey, and I actually got number 1 out of all, like, 802 Pokemon that are out now. And what a surprise, my number 1 spot goes to Greninja. Nothing can compare to my connection with this Pokemon, let's come out and say that. I'm not the only one who likes it, like I already said. It's a handy choice for any situation. It's definitely the best starter Pokemon for Gen 6. And let's be perfectly honest, every single move it gets, every single special ability it gets is really good. Torrent, while I never ever see Torrent in action, is good. Its other 2 abilities though, Battle Bond, which allows it to turn into Astro Ninja, one of my favourite transformations in Pokemon, though I don't use it very much anymore. And the other ability it has, one of the most useful abilities in the game, Protein. What does Protein do? Let me explain. My Greninja's moveset consists of Waterfall, because I don't like using Water Shuriken, Night Slash, Ice Beam, and Acrobatics. Say for example if I was to use Acrobatics. Now Greninja is a Dark and Water type. If I was to use Acrobatics, it immediately becomes Flying type. Its attack, its type switches so that every move it uses is Stab. That's just an amazing ability. Anyway, I'm done screwing about. I wish every single one of you a very, very happy 2018. The last 2 years haven't gone particularly good for me, and I feel like a lot of people share the same opinion, but let's hope that this next year goes swimmingly. I am Creeper Craft Guy, and I will see you in 2018. Bye guys!